We are back talking about 2d6 Dungeon, our usual Tuesday night slot. Right, let me just bring up my chat. Now, this evening, I think what I'm going to do is talk about... Oh, that sounds good to me. So wait until there are a few folks in, and then we're going to have a talk about the rules. I'm going to explain a few things that have been going on, and then I thought we'd look at the level 3 and 4 monsters, and talk about a few things that have happened that have throwing up some options which are quite exciting. Hi, Nick. Yeah, largely bad. I had a bit of a coughing fit before I started. It was always nice. Todd, how are you doing? Good to see you. How are things? How are things with life? Oh. Just put that down. I'm just trying something here. Lunch break. Yes. Of course. Excellent. Hi, Brian. Good to see you. Yep. Actually, we've got some different lighting going on this evening. So I've got some light, the sun coming in through the window here, which probably isn't a great thing. I really should control it. Clive, good to see you. I know, it's a bit awkward, isn't it, the times, really, because it's 8 o'clock here. So I guess I could leave my stream till 10, which would give maybe, I don't know whether that would be much difference for people, whether streaming later would be better. I guess it might be, but I'd have to stream, let's say 1, maybe 2 or 3 in the morning if I was to catch after work hours, I think. So it is a bit of a pain. You can always watch the vlog back and see and watch it there. So there's a few things today. I don't think it's going to be as long a stream today. I have decided I'm not going to continue on with the level 2 playthrough today, just because the rules aren't quite finished yet. So on the major changes. So what's happened is I've gone through the changes that everybody had sent, and then I sent it off to Brent, who is is an experienced proofreader, and he's just going through it for me. And Clive goes through the text for the tables. Christopher, good evening, my friend. And all you other guys pick up the sort of general errors and within the playtesting and the balancing. So there's 4 main jobs really. There's a proofreader who's perhaps going through it a little bit more finely. Clive has been doing some of that, but Brent has as well. Brent can edit in the file, the publisher file, which is often a bit tricky for people, but Brent's experienced in the area. So there's that job. Then there's the playtesting job, which is all you guys are doing such a great job at doing, which has really helped. And I'm going to pick up on that question in a minute, David. So you've got the playtesters, you've got the the typesetter, no, not really typesetter, the kind of proofreader. And then you've got guys that are throwing me ideas, about systems and whatnot. So I've got all this stuff coming in at me, and there's some of you do all of that kind of in a way. So like Nick, you'll throw me some ideas, some suggestions, but you'll also point out some errors. So just general stuff like that. When I get this copy back from Brent, that is going to be like kind of like the core rule thing. At that point, unless it's anything really obvious, and I think I'll get it back this weekend, and then it will go live on, say, Monday or Tuesday, those rules. And so we're looking at another week until the rules are kind of set in stone. At that point, it'll only be really obvious areas that we pick up on, and those rules pretty much stay as they are. I have to have that moment when I can step away from revamping the rules all the time and just focus down on getting the levels done. Now, I've been working really hard on the levels, and Clive has been going over the text, which is great. And so I've been writing the level tables as text. Clive's been going over it, and then I've been putting those into the tables. I've been doing that the last couple of days, putting the stuff into the tables. And I thought I would have level 3 and 4 ready for this stream, but it just hasn't happened. I'm a little bit short. I realised that I failed to write a few bits and pieces that I've had to go over and put in. So it's taken a bit longer. I've got to do the exits tables again. It's important to get it right. But I feel like what I've got now, and you can't see a lot of it, but I've got a richer game for all the comments that people have suggested. So here's some the loot tables, for example, have expanded out. We've got body searches now. We've got sarcophagus searches, urn searches. We've got the runes, proper tables for the runes. There's the colour. The yellows run out of my printer, so you won't be able to see it, but they are separated by colours. And so there's just more depth. So by doing level 3 and 4, I've added in all these other loot tables. So there's been a whole bunch of extra stuff, but it just cemented the core of what the game is about. So it has just enriched it, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff there, which is really exciting. Now, I've obviously created the level 3 and 4 monsters, and that will be something I want to go through in a minute, so we can have a look at that, which is exciting. You'll see the types of creatures, and I'll talk about the creatures when I do that, and my thoughts on where creatures are going within the game, and the sort of the quantities, for example. I like the tables without the yellow. The problem is, you say that, but yet they're actually harder to read. They may look nicer, but at the end of the day, if you've got a table that is, say, for example, like this, right? If you're looking through lots of tables, this, with the yellow, is easier. We've tested it, we had feedback, and unfortunately that is, if you prefer grey, you could always print it out black and white, and you have like a grey band instead. So there is that. So going back to your excellent question, David, it should be a good system for RPG, not only solo RPG. I like the yellow as well. Yeah, Christopher, it is a bit like that. It's just the level of tables, and really the yellow for the more detailed tables. Talking about the detailed tables, that's something that has come up, right? So what I figure is, for these harder tables to read, I might provide a separate file that can be printed out bigger. So for the interruption tables, it may be that we have something you can print out as a letter or A4 size sheet, so you can read it more clearly. That might be the solution to that, providing those as a separate file. Maybe we put that on the Facebook group and Board Game Geek as an option. We can point people in that direction. So David, if you ever need monster ideas, I have a couple of hundred from my regular RPG stuff done over the decades. Lol, yeah. Well, thank you, Todd. The thing is, right, as you well aware, when you're creating any sort of scenario, the monsters, if they're good, are tied to the location. You know, they are of the heritage of the land. So what's happened is with these, they're all tied in with the theme for that level. Or we've got stuff coming up. We've got the entry. We've got the Infernal and the Cultist Den. So we're going to be looking at the Infernal monks and their history, and then tiers of Infernal monks and all the kind of priests and stuff like that are involved with that group. We've got the Menagerie, which is going to be more creatures, and then we've got monsters for the next level. And then we're working on Cursed and Dungeon Lords, sort of more powerful humanoids and sort of spectral beings and stuff like that. So that's kind of all coming up, and maybe I'll go over that a little bit more in more detail later. So David's question about the RPG system. So basically, last week we had someone, who was it? One of you guys maybe, that was talking about using it for 2 players, and we kind of got to the point where it was suggested, I've had this before actually, that one player plays the DM for the game using the tools that we have available through the tables, and then the other is the player. But it does seem like the game itself could lend to a more kind of old school sort of role-playing game. So that is at the back of my mind, and maybe I've been thinking about how that will work. Ernie Rasta, Lezek. Hopefully that's how you say it. Lezek is here. Now Lezek has contributed to the development of this game in a fairly unique way. And I wanted to talk about that today. Good to have you in, my friend. Now, Lezek is a bit of a computer programming genius. And last week we were talking about tables and how I interface with the tables and how I create them. So currently, Lezek is... So currently, no, for me, let's start with me. So currently, what I do is I write out the tables in Word, and then I have to transfer the separate entries across to a template that I have in Photoshop. It's how I've always worked. Now, I think having said that, I've always thought to myself, there's got to be an easy way of doing this. And the Zek has basically realised the same thing. I mean, he's watched the stream last week and he's like, there's got to be a way of doing this. There's got to be a way of transferring something straight into a table format like Toby has created. I'm talking about myself now, obviously. And so he's set about creating this program whereby you enter the table details in Excel and then it exports in the format of the table that I designed in Photoshop. Okay. So this sounds like make-believe, doesn't it? It sounds like, well, if I could have anything, that would be it. So, to explain how that worked, Lezek recorded a video and sent it to me to watch. 50-minute video. and talked about how he's writing program that will take the raw guts of the table and put it into generate it into a table like the ones we've got in the book with this style. So with this format and this curved edge and the colours. So quite mind blowing. So I want to sort of like announce this to people, that this is going on in the background, that we have a kind of like a tech genius working with us, who's coming up with this idea. Now, at the moment, there are a number of key things that concern me. I mean, concern's probably a bit of a strong word, but I'm kind of conscious that I don't want all your amazing work to go to waste, Lizek. And I think for me to enter all this information on an Excel spreadsheet and save them as individual files is the problem for me, because that could mean that I'm having to create lots of separate documents, or one big document, and I don't really know how to use Excel. So the perfect vision would be to have these tables. If I write it out in Word, if it takes it from Word and puts it onto the thing. Now that would be perfect if that was the situation. If it's not, if that's impossible, try with the Excel situation, and we'll have a look at where that goes. I've just been really impressed with what you've done. So yeah, he says he's working on that right now. So guys, this our friend here, he's coming up with an amazing thing. So what I'm going to do to Zach is push on with how I'm doing at the moment, and we'll leave it here because most people here don't really know what we're talking about. But I'll push on with how I'm doing it. But when you feel like there's a user-friendly interface with someone who's not a tech genius to use, then maybe we can give it a trial. But amazing stuff, and I am quite amazed at what you've done, and humbled in a way that you've kind of taken inspiration from this game to do this project. Thank you. And I think that we have some amazing people who are involved with this project and taking it to different places and stages. The weird thing is, the game isn't even finished yet. That's something that gets me. The support that I'm getting is fantastic. And at the last 2 weeks, I've felt like I've let everybody down a little bit because I haven't turned out the updates as much as I'd like to have done. It's been slightly slower than I'd hoped. So I think you have an excellent base rules. The combat rules are really good. What about the skills or habitats, for example, in the game? For skills, don't quite get that word. Abilities in the game. So if this was to be morphed into an RPG system, I'd have to think about that. But I've got so much brain space that I've only got so much brain space, and that's kind of far off at the moment. So I'm looking at the possibility of adding extra layers. People have suggested some really great stuff, so that will feature. But I think that's going to come with the RPG edition. It's like with Radzone, my other game. I am working on, although not the last few weeks, obviously, but I have been working on the roleplay version of Radzone, so that can go into a bigger world, if you like. So you can kind of be in the bunker and play a character, a DM, and then you go out on missions and stuff like that. And there's lots of other things. And some of the guys here in the group know about that. So that is coming. This has become a beast, a big beast, and I love it. I love this creature that it's become. So I'm in the throes of this at the moment. I think generally as a kind of creative rule, you should always kind of go with the thing that you're feeling the vibe for, because you generally produce so much more when you're in that state. Scott, good to see you, my friend. Oh man, I hope it's not too early over there. So yeah, I'm going with that vibe at the moment. table 3 and 4, level 3 and 4 are nearly ready. I mean, they are literally a couple of hours away. So I will release those tomorrow, and they will go live. Now, I'm obviously I'm going to release them to everybody, right? They've been checked, and the text has been checked. The key thing is for the testers, when I release them tomorrow, is to look at the balance. Any, obviously, errors that you might see as well, it goes without saying, but it's the balance and the difficulty that I'm really looking at, because that has a massive part to play in how I design levels 5 and 6, in a sense, the creatures and the monsters and stuff like that. So, yes. We do similar things with tables and data in ACAD, though it is much simpler without the graphics aspect of it. Good luck. It will be powerful if you get it working. Okay. That's interesting, Todd. Okay. Morning, Scott. Lauren Chilcott. I say take your time and enjoy it. We're all super thankful for everything you've done. Well, that's very kind. Thank you. And, you know, I've said that to myself because I am enjoying it immensely. My chest swells when I log on to the Facebook page and I see the adventures, and I just think that's exactly what I want people to have, that enjoyment. So that's super exciting for me. And, I'm really lucky. I'm very inspired at the moment, so it's coming on nicely. It's funny actually when people are nice and I just get so much done. But there's no doubt about it. There's been a lot of admin. There's been a whole bunch of other things to consider that I hadn't really worked into the project initially. So it is taking longer. And my projection for the end of May, I mean, to have all of them finished, have the digital finished, I mean, we're looking at the moment, it's 5 to 10 days to get 2 levels done. So we were looking at potentially, the end of May, maybe to even get the text done, but that's pushing it. It's just sort of grown. So I'm kind of thinking, it's definitely going to push into June, but more for the fact that will be just to make it as good as it can be, with everybody's feedback that I sort of desperately want to be able to incorporate in some form or shape, even if it's just to confirm things, So Scott says, only 3:25 a.m. here. Haha. Woke up early to get some recording done. Noticed you on recording is delayed for a while. Thanks, Scott. Good to have you here. Scott has been instrumental over the last couple of years, helping me with Radzone as well, which was a huge help. And also, don't forget, Scott, under Ithacus Bane, has a YouTube channel where he looks at all this stuff. Okay, so solo player games. And it's so worth checking his channel out, because I think we all share the same interests here. So go check out his YouTube channel. Just type that in. Obviously after the stream. Ernie, the Zek has said, this support is here because the game is great and you're very likable. Well, that's very nice of you to say. Take your time, do not rush. Yeah, I that is the thing. I am. The thing is, right, it's really exciting. So I want to try and get as much done as I can, but also I'm thinking about other expansions, and I've got the lair to do and the sunken swamp and all these things that are kind of coming, and I want to get doing some of that and some of this, and it's really encouraging. And so yeah, Petit's Law, the first 90% of the project takes the first 90% of the time. The last 10% of the project takes the other 90% of the time. better a good project late than a bad project early. Exactly. And having been in the funding world for a couple of years now, people are just generally really understanding. You know, if you present an honest front and you tell what's going on and keep people updated, that's what they expect. We have an educated, what would you call it? Group? No, we have an educated consumer base who understand that when they see a project, that it kind of, and they like it. They want to make sure that person does it right, so they're lenient. They've got a bit of give, you know. And anyway, look, we're a small indie company with a big project on our hands, so we're obviously going to take a bit longer. I don't have loads of people working with me, unfortunately. Raycon299, hi Toby, enjoyed the interview at the HKU we had a few weeks ago. Hi, how you doing? I enjoyed the game very much that I'm pledging at this moment. Nice. I was wondering if it's possible to get the add-ons at a later date. One of the students. I think I explained to people I zoomed in or Skyped in on a meeting on a student's class and answered a few questions. It was really cool. And really, it's kind of informed answers from these university students, as you would expect. So that was great. And yeah, you will be able to get the add-ons at a later date. So this will all be going on our website, drgames.co.uk, once it's finished and it's gone out to all the backers. It's so important for me that all the backers get their content first, and the late pledges as well. So there's the late pledge button on the Kickstarter page where people can click that, and then they will go and they'll get a form, and you can put what you want, even the add-ons, and put a comment down the bottom that maybe you might have already pledged but you want to add some more stuff onto it. So there's that option. But also after, there will be the expansion, and then further expansions, the main game. There'll be the hardback and the paperback versions available. So on the website, and then later on we're going to put it on to Drive-Thru RPG because well, it kind of makes sense to put the digital format on there, but seeing it has, you know, hundreds of thousands of people going through that area. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, look, if you want to email me questions, Raycon. My email is toby@drgames.co.uk. Fantastic. So let's have a little look at some game content. So we've got level 3 creatures. Let's put some of those on. We'll have a look at some of these, right? Now, I haven't actually put these into the codex yet. So there's still time for me to update these. But let's try and put them in order. So I printed them out. Sometimes I make a few changes and I don't print them out. So that may be the case here. So I'm gonna go in XP order. All right. Okay. So, let's have a look here. How are we doing? Can we see that? Is that focused? Okay. So, first one is Ghost. Is that focusing? Because if it's focusing, anyway, I can't see over there because of my eyesight. That's probably why. Okay, so we have a Ghost. Static fusion on primary 2s and 3s. Phased arm on secondary 6s. -2 damage to both of those. Has a spectral touch with D6 -1 damage. Cold blast for D6 -2 damage. Ghost appears in the form of their past life surrounded by white astral energies. that channels their ferocity into the world. They viciously want revenge on all the living. So this has a +2 shift, and we're entering into that zone. So there's no doubt about it. As you'll see, as you'll get the gist, there are less creatures the deeper you go into the dungeon. Well, certain parts of the dungeon. So it's the same with any role-playing game, and I've played many. You are in a situation where you have lots of weaker characters, and then as you get further on, you get a number of more powerful creatures. Because let's face it, you can't face lots of powerful creatures, can you? It's just the natural, and it's just been highlighted to me with this design of this game. I've kind of thought to myself, when I first laid down the rules, I thought I'd have more third level characters than I'm actually having, that I've produced. And having gone through the design process, I realised you don't need tons of more powerful creatures, because you're only going to encounter, say, 3 or 4 on the level. And if you've got, say, 10, that generally covers that selection. And then you take on some of the weaker characters, but you take on more of them. Of course, this has yet to be proven out with the deeper levels. So we've got a Tomb Raider. So I wanted to have a character that could be human, but still found in these lower levels. Okay, so the first 2 levels, the domain and the entry and the domain are kind of humans live. Then the crypt levels are scary and they don't live there, but their ancestors are buried there. But there are still, say, like Tomb Raiders. They get in there. She's got a low duck and a forearm block. So both those will not have any effect after round 6 because they're movement based. They have a cutlass and slash and a grip twist. And also you will have noticed that the D3 is playing more of a part in the damage. So that is now an important part of the game. And you'll see that adds a bit of variance to the types of damage that can be done. And I found that actually it can be quite powerful, as Bob was pointing out to me with some of his playtesting. There are a few people who dare to venture into the crypts in search of treasure. They are more than happy to recover the treasure from those who get in their way. They draw a knife and attack. There you go. And the Mummy is the next one. Similar, this has got a +2 shift, less defensive maneuvers, savage bash, a body barrel, your standard mummy type stuff. And then we've got an undead bear. So carrying on, I was thinking about the bears, and that's kind of because the brown bear features in the earlier levels, the lower levels, the higher levels, depending on how you look at it. And I have introduced, dang, I missed the rules update. At least I caught the stream. RKDNO. If that's just let me know your real name, because I forget the avatars sometimes. I'm just going over some of the stuff now. There's not that I haven't gone through a list of rules at the moment, because the update is going to come next week on the next stream. Daniel. Good to see you. So I will be doing a proper rules update next week, when because basically we've sent the rules. One of our guys, Brent, is going over the document. So I made all the corrections, added in those extra rules, some of the stuff which I've explained to you, and next week he's going through the actual document and applying edits to that, which I will then have a look at. And then so we will have the rules kind of 0.99 ready on for next Tuesday. That's the plan. And we're going to have level 3 and 4 out tomorrow, so you can play level 3 and 4 of the dungeon. Oh, Nick, thanks for putting that in there. Awesome stuff. So, Savage Claws, Body Barge. So these have escaped into the dungeon. Now there's a new character that is kind of almost playing like a vampire role, but I didn't want vampires because they carry so much baggage. Yeah, thanks crap phone. New levels, yes, tomorrow. That's what I've been slogging away on the last 4 days, trying to get those done and transferring them into the tables. So yes, they will be out tomorrow, so that is going to be exciting. The crypt levels 3 and 4. So we've got the bear, right. So bears that escape the betas flee into the crypts, only to be fed on by Faraviata. The once drained blood are reanimated as undead bears, their fur bleached white by death. Okay, so we've got the Faraviata here is a kind of, they're a bit like vampires, but they're not. They're more undead. The Faraviata are warped humans who have been drained of life through infernal worship. There will be more on infernal worship as we go into levels 5 and 6, okay, which are the Infernal and the Cultist Den. So this is part of the lore, and you know, we've had some really nice comments from people saying they want to know more about the lore of the world and some of the story behind these characters. So it's kind of tying it together, which is what I was talking a little bit about earlier about the monsters, the types of monsters that we have. So these guys can feed on people. Okay, so they are like vampires, but they're not. I didn't want to use the loaded term name vampires. But, you know, there's a history of creature that feeds upon other creatures and sucking their blood, isn't there? There's kind of that or drains a life force. So the Faraviata are that particular creature. We have the Stone Maidens. There's obviously a lot of stone in the dungeon, and some of it is magically imbued. Stone Maidens are favoured by Gracada, and were once women sacrificed by the infernal monks and placed in tombs, only to reappear with stony skin and the lust for blood. So these are stone creatures, and it makes me think of that Sinbad film and the Eye of the Tiger, where that is it a Buddhist god or a Hindu god comes to life, and she's got the 8 arms, and she does that kind of dance, and her skin's stony, and a kind of, you know, all these things. I loved those Sinbad films when I was a kid. They really have inspired me. Ray Harryhausen and his animation. Oh my God. I was just at peak Ray Harryhausen when I was like 12. And some of those films, like Jason and the Argonauts, Clash of the Titans. Oh, you know, that has kind of fed my fantasy imagination since I was young. The treasure on the last card says BTS. What is the reason behind not... BTS 2. That's Body Search Table 2. So, yeah, I kind of give them numbers to help with the kind of the quality within that table. So table 1 is going to be poor quality, table 2 better, 3, 4 are going to be better, and so on, if you get what I mean. So, and those ones there you can plus 2, so you get better loot when you kill a Faraviata than say someone just without that, if you see what I mean. Sounds like Lara Croft Tomb Raider. Yeah, we had a Tomb Raider vibe going on there for sure. There are little subtle, well, that's not so subtle. There are references to cultural moments throughout my games. So yes, the Lara Croft Tomb Raider computer game was a big change, and it links directly to It's a little nod towards Ian Livingstone, because he was part of the creator for Lara Croft, and of course he created the Fighting Fantasy books, which is the turn 2 numbers game, which is partly what this game is about, Sounds. I just sent in the form to late pledge. Felicia. I probably completely destroyed your name. I'm terribly sorry about that. Thank you very much for doing that. That's much appreciated. Leffard. I like the avoidance of trope monsters, giving it an old school sword and sorcery vibe. Thank you. Yes. Well, there are a few. Like, for example, it's difficult to avoid. I want to bring some of my own ideas into it, some of my own IP, some of my own brands, if you like. But you say, for example, there's the Mummy. But I feel like the Mummy doesn't belong to fantasy. I feel like this belongs to the Egyptians. So it's a historical reference. Kasak, how you doing, my friend? Nice stream as always. So are you going to release the near final rules next week before the stream? Yes, I am. All things go well, yes. All the work has gone into it, all the play testing, all the tips and the errors that people have spotted, all hopefully it's going to be ironed out. Listen, there's still many weeks before the official final version is released. But tropes are good, but cliches are bad. Yeah. Finding the borderline is a fine art. Well, thank you, Crapphone. I am trying my hardest, but one thing that I do like is I love stories. So if I can create a monster, and in that monster I've got like little ideas of stories that are coming out, then that's just awesome for me. That's like, just give me a big plate of chocolate. That is what I'm talking about. Or a nice glass of gluten-free stout. I'm on it. What's oh, that's nice. Finding the border. Yes. Mummy fits. Very pulp 30s Conan Clark Ashton Smith vibe. Exactly. And also, I used to work at the British Museum. I've seen mummies in real life. I've seen these things up close. Javier, hi Toby, just wanted to let you know I'm still going to be doing a proposed redesign of the Monster God cards, just a little behind with baby stuff. Still okay to send some stuff to you? Yes, please do send some new stuff. I can't guarantee that I'm going to use these designs, unfortunately, because it's taken me so long to do these designs and fill these I kind of almost call them my kind of monster tables. They're not really they're not your stereotypical cards because they hold so much information. They're kind of reference cards. Having a good story makes the monster great, no matter what. I think so. I think generally anything. If you can, it's how I design. It's how I design. It's how I draw. It's how I paint. There's always got to be some sort of narrative feeding into it to give it reason. And it's exciting to explain it to people as well. No problem, Javier. Brian says, mentioning stop motion, will skeletons make an appearance? Yes, they do. Skeleton Warriors, level 2, Brian. There. We've seen these, haven't we? Have we gone through these before? So let me quickly go through these. Hydra teeth. Yes. I might have to have a special magic item. You throw some Hydra teeth down, uprise some skeletons. I think that would be pretty damn cool. Assuming it's legal to do so. Yeah. Well, you can add an angle on it, can't you? Right, so we've got Skeleton Warrior, the Vanished. I think we looked at these before. The Amoratic. So they're blind. Zombies. Got to have a zombie. Giant Rats. Heedless. The Banished. And the Mercenary. They're the level 2. There's some level 2 ones. There's some more in here. Yeah, we've got some other level 2. We've got, obviously... now they might well have come in for the crypt level, so you won't have seen those. See, I just lose track. So you won't have seen those creatures. You would have seen some of the other level 2 creatures. So these level 2 creatures have been specifically designed. Sorry, I probably did. I probably didn't explain these before. So level 3 is going to have new level 2 characters in because it's crypt. Now these are undead creatures. And they're kind of like the cannon fodder side of it. So you want some easier creatures for each level, and they may well have to sort of fall into the lower level bracket. I couldn't see any other way around it. I couldn't call these level 3 characters because then the implication is that all creatures are tied to their level of the dungeon, and they're not. So these are new characters that have come in, and they will be populating the game. So they are brand new. See, I forget what I've covered sometimes, so I apologise for that, guys. But yes, Skeleton Warrior, the Vanished. So the Vanished are rumoured to be the wayward souls who have disappeared from the surface and end up corrupted by the same dark magic that animates the dead. They hide in the shadows. They wear masks. Blinded and insane, the Amoratic have a heightened sense of hearing. Guided by Neverzator, they wander down to the crypt's levels to avoid the persecution of the domain guards. Okay, crap phone, I'll see you soon. Bojan, animated armor, hand from a wall, talking mirror, clockwork soldier. So many things that can fit into a dungeon of this kind. Yes, you're right. Well, I'm trying not to push so much stuff into each level. So I'm kind of drip feeding it because obviously I've got to make sure I don't put too much stuff in. It becomes OP. Yes, they're from the combat testing. That's right, Brian. So these babies here were combat tested by our group of testers, and that was just so good. Quality over quantity. Todd, you are absolutely right, my friend. I think that the combat testing, it was big. It was the eye opener for me. Looking at people's results, Nick, Brian, Bob just went to the next level. I mean, he did hundreds. I mean, you all did so well. It showed me the speed at which I needed to increase the difficulty, and then with the testing of the armor, and we could see that the characters become more OP. So, when you've got 3 pieces of armor, you can reduce the damage down a lot. So, what I've been able to do is I've been able to allow the creatures to do more damage. And that has meant that I'm not so worried about how they now fare, because I know, having seen this awesome feedback, that I can do that. And there will be a stage when we do some more combat testing. The mummy spanked my tush, lol. Yeah. Not sure the first part came through. I was asking about the AI art on the Facebook group. The legal thing was about that, and if it would be used. Yeah, I won't be using that particular AI art. I've got an artist, Jake Abington. I keep saying Jason, who is sourcing work for me and pictures, and I kind of leave it in his hands. So yes, the legal thing as well is tricky. We'll deal with that. It's pretty. I've been looking into it, Daniel. Don't worry too much about it. The barrack knights forced me to go back to town after destroying my armor. Yes. So as the levels increase, you'll find more armor. So we are looking at having extra pieces of armor in your backpack that you can then put on if a knight say destroys a piece of armor. There are some other creatures that just destroy armor. So let me have a look here. So that's those ones. And there's more history to the barrack knights as well. I've talked about it before. Let me just have a look. Special attacks. Christopher, thanks for being here, my friend. Take care. Need to call it a night for work early. Well, thank you for being here. Always love having you here, my friend. I will catch up with you very soon, no doubt. Level 3 and 4 tables coming out tomorrow. Be ready. I'm looking forward to seeing what people make of these. Okay, so we also have some level 4 characters here. Now, did you guys did test these ones, didn't you? The level 4 characters. So level 4 so far. Let me just check. I've got them all here. Hang on. Where have they all gone? Yes. Yeah, it was level 4. So yes. So there are less level 4 characters. And there are some new ones that you guys may not have seen actually. Oh, that's weird. I did have some more level 4 characters. Well, there'll be a surprise for you. So we've got a Banshee there. She's got the pitched scream, the vibro punch, and I guess there's a certain element of superpowers that get involved with some of these creatures. Banshees are twisted by the orbit of psyche. They are beings who tormented by their voices and sent away into the depths where they cannot disturb those in the domain above. Banshee, I'll come to that one last. We've got the Under Troll. So drawing upon that rich kind of history that is the troll. Very kind of Scandinavian origins, I think, the troll. And this one's called the Under Troll, though, so it's slightly different. Kind of when the dungeon was being made, a number of ancient trolls were discovered and trapped. Later, these angry creatures escaped into the lower levels and now hunt for fresh meat. So one of the things that, as I've been creating the monsters, I've also been thinking to myself, thinking about the origins of the dungeon and when it was first made, and maybe some of the creatures come from that time and they've been in the dungeon for a long time. So that's kind of where we're going with that. Yes, reads Underboss Troll lol. Yes. There are some new ones. I don't know where the other ones have gone. I'll just check over here. Did I? No. Okay. That's strange. Maybe I'm just going crazy. So the Undertroll, he's pretty good. So we have the Ophilit. So the Ophilit is a is a kind of a large undead creature, quite powerful. So it's got claws and crushing grip. Offer it to ancient giants of the old world, returned to the deep caves as undead beings, only to find the dungeon in its place. They wander the tunnels confused, aggressively seeking their lost home. So that is their that's their makeup. They're big and strong, and they have these golden talks around their necks or arms, and they kind of have this kind of old sort of Celtic vibe about them. Yeah, thanks, Nick. I think so. I think he kind of fits the bill. I just needed another monster as I was doing level 4, thinking I want some other kind of moments where you would encounter a bigger creature. David, you can try a double-sided card monster. You can switch him on a critical, he becoming more powerful with overskill. Well, that's a possibility. I mean, that's a possible. It's a nice idea, David. Again, I kind of move a little away from making things too complicated. For an introvert's retreat says, for a moment I read 203 damage. That would be pretty powerful on the prime attack roll. Yes, yeah, no, that would be that'd be impressive. Yeah, 2d3. So you've got the Olafit, the Ophilit, and then we have the Zordian Shade, who is the boss for the level 4. So this is an undead lion, basically. So I was thinking, have something a bit different, something animal. I agree with Nick. Can't remember seeing him appear in level 4 tables. No, he's definitely new, and I just needed something extra, basically, with the Ophilit. Yes, the gas roar got me a few times. Powerful maneuver. Yeah, exactly. I wanted to try and make sure that they had some kind of special attack. Zordian Shades are possessed corpses of a species of extinct lion, scourged by primordial magic. They hate humans and seek revenge for the persecution they suffered in life. It roars. I try and bring some of these descriptions into the present so that when you're reading it you feel like, wow, they're there, in a kind of like simple way. The name obviously comes from the terrifying tongue-tied swearing of the unlucky adventurer coming face to face with it. Yes. Well, I mean, why not? When I thought of that name, because I look at, when I'm creating names, what I often do is I go to translate and I look at the meanings of words in different languages and listen to the sounds. I've drawn quite a few Romanian words into the game, and some other bits and pieces. But if I hear a word that sounds like, so the Ophilit has it kind of, it's shrugging off, or like awful. There's a kind of bass sound to it, and that's what these creatures kind of, you can almost hear them making that sound, if you like. So there's a certain dynamic to how I name these, and it largely works. Sometimes I get a name when I'm thinking, oh, we could improve that one. But yeah, no, this is fun stuff. I love creating all these things. Now, there's the level 4. The Undead Bear. I don't know whether you guys saw that one before. That's the new one. So you wouldn't have seen the Undead Bear before. I think that I put that one in new, and the Faraviata as well. Pretty new. The Ashen Fext is one that's been there before. So it's basically, we have a group of we need a golem. Yeah, I know that is Brian. That is a tricky one. So what is a golem to you? Golem, I think, is one of the most loaded terms within the fantasy world, because people think of Gollum as the character out of Lord of the Rings. The Ashen Fext is a fun battle. Good. They think of it as that is one of the things I've really tried to get, Nick, to try and make these combats interesting. It's a real challenge. This world golem made of clay. So for me, growing up, a golem was a stone giant. So it is pretty loaded. Yeah, mythic or trope, golem. Good question. I mean, I'm sure that golem probably has lots of different meanings to people when they're thinking about it. So I kind of wanted to avoid that that side of it. So I've kind of said to myself, no golems, which could be the right thing, or I might change my mind. Who knows? So it is a tricky one, and to be honest, I'm thinking that for every creature, every time I'm trying to figure out what creatures to put in, could have a root golem, which would fit with one of the gods. Yes, Radacina. It would fit with Radacina. That's interesting. I'd probably take the word golem, look at it, break it down, look at the thesaurus, see something that was similar, and then give it a like name. You know, so it would appear like it. I think one of the if we were to look at names as a whole, if we said goblin, say for example, or elf, or they carry with that word instantly comes a whole bunch of things attached to it. So when I'm creating names, sometimes I'll take that original name out and I will look at all the things attached to it still, and maybe pick out a couple of those and then use those as a guide to what that creature should be. Because let's face it, it is quite difficult to come up with something completely new or unusual. In fact, it's really tricky, you know, and you don't necessarily always want to do that because you want people to identify with things. So it is a question, and if I feel like a word is too loaded, I will try not to use it. But if, say, mummy, for example, it takes you back to maybe The Mummy, the film. There's a really cool mummy in that, and that's not a bad thing for people to associate with this particular form of the mummy in my game. So that's good. Technically, it could be any construct given a semblance of life by the word of power on it. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So if you're like, yeah, so that's basically what I'm saying. So there's lots of things dragged in. So alongside all that is my world, Corridine, and I'm kind of thinking to myself, what can I pull from that and give it continuity? So, Mummy with Peter Cushing. Yeah. Well, I love Hammer horror. I'm a massive fan of Hammer horror. I love all those films. I love the fact that they're grim, they're gothic, they're dark, they're sexy, they're kind of, there are lots of things thrown into this, and they are like a cauldron full of things that bubble up over, and some of it doesn't work. You know, the magic doesn't work all the time, but I think that it's kind of largely I loved that period of film. Particularly, I do love it. So we've done the entry, we've done domain, we've done the crypt, we've done the haunted. We're now into the infernal. So the infernal is going to be based around the infernal monks. Let me just get out the infernal monks. We've got the cultists there. So the infernal monks. So when I was naming the game, when I was thinking of names in the game, I very much was conscious of not wanting to make too many references to Christian belief. Okay, now it's not just that I didn't want to upset people, which I don't want to upset people. I didn't want the kind of associations with satanic monk. So originally I called, as some of you will know, I called the infernal monk the satanic monk. And I paused and reflected on that, and I thought to myself, well, there's no Satan in this world. Okay. Now, there are dark gods, which is fine. And I kind of needed a term that would fulfill this role. Mean satanic with what it meant it was going to be, but yet had something that was more sort of generalized tone. So infernal, for me, is much more sort of generic, which is why they're infernal. And that then got me thinking, the order or the infernal monks, how is that organized? And I thought to myself, right, let's have a level dedicated to these guys. Now, it's obviously going to have other creatures in as well, but we're going to see a whole bunch of different infernal monk related systems, and we're going to build out a bit of a history, a bit of a kind of a lore for these guys. So that's important. So we will get different ones, different types of infernal monk, and they'll have different names, and we'll whip all that up and see what happens. The cultist den is going to be more kind of crazed stuff. So people will be put it this way, the cultist, we have the cultist, bit of a generalized thing, but they are going to be, the people in that level potentially going to be transformed. So we're going to have a transformed level where people have been kind of practiced on and changed. And then I was thinking to myself, right, a menagerie. We're going to have a menagerie and a monster maze, and they're going to be some classic type monsters with a Toby twist, and then at the end we're going to have the cursed and the dungeon lords, real kind of powered up human beings who the adventurers are going to take down with glee. But as we get through these levels, there aren't going to be huge numbers of monsters. Unai, I probably said that wrong this time. Hello everybody, unfortunately these streams always overlap my working hours, but just wanted to show some support. Well, thank you for being here. Thanks for putting the message down there. Do appreciate that. Todd, note to self, stock up a lot on holy water before level 5. Well, that's another loaded thing, isn't it? Holy water. I've avoided using holy water in the game. I've kind of said to myself, not going to do it. A blessed weapon. So the weapons of the characters are blessed by the Zegor priests, which means that you can fight undead in the game. So there is very much a sense that there is a spiritual power going on. I mean, obviously you've got the gods, which are a massive part of the game. But I've kind of resisted using the holy water thing. I've got to, they're humans. These guys are humans, so you are going to be facing human cults groups, protagonists on these levels, hopefully. Good. Right. So, because the rules aren't quite finished, I wanted you to be able to see them before I carried on with the level. I thought to myself, this week I won't be doing the rolling. I'm also pretty exhausted with all the work that's been going on, so I probably wouldn't do myself justice, but I probably miss stuff. Salty holy water, if thrown to open wounds, must still be effective. Thrown on open wounds must still be effective. Yeah, what, we need garlic as well, do we? Yeah, I'm going to come up with something else. I'm going to come up with some other means to fight these guys. I think that has got to be it. There's going to be some other reason. So, I mean, that's largely what I wanted to cover this week, guys. I just wanted to just catch up, say thank you for the support as well, and the fact that it is slowed down. The updates are slowed down a little bit, but we're going to get that big update tomorrow, and then the big update on the rules before next week. So we will be in a really good position to move forward with getting as many levels done as possible. And some of the expansion, some of the layers, the layer expansion has been written. So I'm doing little bits there, and I've got other stuff going on. I also wanted to talk about something else that's coming up, and that is that on the first couple of days of June, we have the UK Games Expo going on here in England, and that is going to draw some of my time to it. So I am kind of having to spend some of my work hours starting to organise that, because it's basically, we've got to stand for 3 days. It's the biggest conference in the UK, and we are, as a company, DR Games, we are kind of announcing ourselves to the world there for the first time. It's a really big thing for us. So I've been buying some banners, some props. One of my brother, so my brother's being involved, and he makes props. He's gonna have some of his stuff on the stall. We've got the new expansion to Radzone, which is called the Exhibition Centre Expansion, especially designed for the conference, inspired by the conference, and we're selling hard copies of that for Radzone. We've also printed out, we've got the first print of, this is the Science Lab expansion. So that is the first physical copies of these with a large central map. Okay, this is stuff that I've printed before. We've just basically rejigged it so that we can print it as leaflet form. There's going to be a whole bunch of these for Radzone, one of my other games. Nick says they are subterranean, so light should be a weakness. Blinding and bright lights, noises should not be common and thus effective against them. Interesting idea. I like that. I like that concept, Nick. When we come to the Infernal, that's going to be more of an organised kind of dark priest environment. So there's going to be groups of cults and stuff like that. Yes. So these Radzone Science Lab expansions are going, the physical copies are going on our website in the next few days. that's so that'll be there, and then the expansion will be going on. The exhibition expansion will be going on the weekend of the Expo. So that will, because we want to coincide it, have us kind of launch for that product on when the exhibition starts. So people can't get it beforehand. It just is now and available. So it'll be available internationally on our website, and I will let everybody know. And this will be available on our main website pretty soon. To be honest, you might want to wait if you want to get these physical copies, and they're really top quality prints. With a nice spine and another version of the map there. You might want to wait for both, so the postage is cheaper. So when both are available, but it's up to you completely. Clive says, will these Rad Zone prints be available for order somewhere? Yes, as I was explaining. So flash, bang, potion time. Yes, Todd, for sure. All the potions are going to make a big difference. Give agency and stuff like that. Unai, so much goodness. Radzone is on my list of games to play also. Thank you. Yep, it's very much my style. There's the narrative element is key, but there's some strong mechanics in there which have worked out really nicely. Johnny, hi Toby, just finished at work, so I'll have to watch the beginning later. No problem, my friend. I'm glad you're here. Wish I could be at the Expo, but it's a long swim from Cape Town, Clive says. I know, it's going to be exciting. This is the first time we've done a con, and we've got so much stuff planned, and it's so exciting. It kind of really focuses your mind. We've been reprinting Radzone. We had hoped to have 2D6 ready for it, but it just isn't going to happen. What we will be doing is talking about 2D6 at the conference. We will have some kind of initial rule sets there for people to have a look through, some of the free stuff, and so we'll be talking about that. But we'll also be looking at our game, Trade Nation, our card game, which I haven't really talked much about. It's quite different than, say, 2D6 or Radzone. It's an actual physical card game you play with 2 to 6, or if you get a couple of sets, you can play like 10 people. And it's quite different. But I'm not going to talk about that now. I will talk about that as we get nearer the time. But my main focus is obviously on 2D6 because I'm vibing that at the moment. It's bloody exciting. So there's so much going on. It's busy here. We do 12-hour days. My wife, she is the logistics manager, and she works full time as well. So she comes home and she's like tired, but she's like, right, I'm logging on. She's got to do a load of forms that people have filled in and all that sort of stuff. Nick says, I can't wait for Trade Nation. Thank you, Nick. Yep, we're going to be looking at that. I'm going to have single player rules for that as well, actually. Solo player rules. They will be separate and available on the website when we've written those. So, but there will be a single player version as well if that's what you're looking for. Bob, hey Bob, Bob's here. I'll have to watch this later. This occurs right in the middle of 2 regular weekly meetings for me, but don't change days, time just for me. Well, Bob, I hear what you're saying. I've had this, a lot of people have been saying this there at work. I'm kind of like, I'm going to basically, originally I did a couple in the same week, and I think what I need to do is maybe one at the weekend. Now, weekends tend to be pretty busy here, but I'm going to try and squeeze one in. So maybe we'll do maybe an early Saturday or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that would be your late. I don't know how that would work. I'm never any good with these times, across the world. But maybe I'll try and do a weekend stream and we can get some more of the team in. Brilliant. Good. I feel like I've kind of gushed a bit. There's so much exciting stuff going on. I couldn't hope to have a better crew with me. You guys help me out so much, and we're making this game work. Scheduling is tough, especially worldwide. But yes, it is. And Bob, just so you know, I am sending out the level 3 and 4 tomorrow. I was hoping to get done today, but I'm just short on a couple of things. I don't want to push it out. And then that is what we're going to get the feedback on. And we're looking at really, because the text has been checked already, we're looking at kind of balance and difficulty and atmosphere. So that type of stuff. And the combat. So we've already done quite a lot of the testing for the combat, which has been awesome. Brian, yay! Take as long as you need, but I am excited for more levels. Yes. Well, they will be with us tomorrow, and it's crypt, and it's dark, and it's gloomy, and it's cobwebby. And yes, we've got some undead coming in. So yeah, so sounds great. Looking forward to it. Good. And the rules will be are being fine-tuned. I've made lots of corrections that people have suggested, and they're being fine-tuned with someone who's looking at the actual publisher document, Brent. He's looking at that, and we're going to then that should be ready for Tuesday next week, and that's going to be like the 0.99 version with a little bit of allowance. But we really want to move away from the rules and focus more on the tables and the play. So I want to try and get this done as soon as possible. I've just organised a 2d6 cruise so we can all be together. Jokes aside, congratulations and best of luck on the UK Expo. You have great stuff on your hands. Well, thank you. You know, that's very nice of you to say. Appreciate that. Brilliant. Thanks, Brian, as well. Brian Van Beek. Appreciate that. Guys, it's a little bit shorter than normal, but we haven't played anything, and it's just me kind of going on about stuff. Thanks for all the questions. I will leave it there, and there will be, as I say, the update comes out tomorrow, and I'll be looking forward to seeing some of those amazing maps. Oh my god, who does amazing maps that we all love? Todd, where are you? Todd's beautiful maps. Todd, if you don't mind, I put those on Board Game Geek. Put those up on the Board Game Geek page. They are just spectacular with your pen work. But I love all the tables. I love the rough ones. I love the really well done ones. I just love the window into people's world, the worlds that they were exploring. So brilliant stuff. Okay, guys. Thanks again. I will catch up with you soon. I will definitely try. I think I'm going to try and do one at the weekend. Try and do a stream at the weekend. I have more coming up as I go deeper into the dungeon. Lol. And no problem with sharing. Excellent. I didn't think you'd mind. So I will see everybody very soon. Thank you for being at the stream. Don't forget, tomorrow, the big day, levels 3 and 4. Bye, everybody.